Hello, welcome. This is the Bird Road Traffic Calming Meeting number 2 on behalf of the City of Ann Arbor. I'd just like to thank you all for joining us. This is an opportunity to engage with the community, to get feedback, to get input. This traffic calming project, well, in general, but this one, included, this relies on resident feedback. So we really appreciate and encourage participation. As I said, if you didn't get a chance to complete the demographic poll, I'll relaunch it at the end of the meeting. But it's been a month or so, a couple months since our first meeting. And if you didn't get a chance to attend the first meeting, we'll just do some introductions of the project team. My name is Christy Thullen. I'll be presenting tonight. The traffic calming team for Bird Road, it's a partnership between the City of Ann Arbor and Wade Trim. Wade Trim is an engineering firm based here in Southeast Michigan. We've been contracted by the city to assist with their traffic calming project, hosting the public meetings, just general public engagement, like sending out the communications and updating the project website. From Wade Trim, I have other team members that assist me. Those would be Chris Wall, Lori Pollock. If you just see our names on anything or the Wade Trim logo just throughout this process, just know that we're working on behalf of the city. And then naturally with the partnership, we're working closely with the Ann Arbor city staff. There are other city staff members and departments that we coordinate through along the way with these projects, but specifically for Bird Road, we've been working pretty closely with Andrea, Chris, and Cyrus. Here's our meeting agenda for tonight. Most of tonight's time is going to be dedicated to the traffic calming process, where we'll review and discuss each device. So jumping into our technology overview, not much to say. Hopefully, I think over the last few years, we've all been pretty used to interacting on a virtual format, but if you're joining from a computer or using the Zoom app on your phone, there's going to be 2 ways of asking questions and providing feedback tonight. You can either press the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. That'll notify the host. You can also lower your hand with that same button. That'll just let us know that you'd like to speak. So, we'll recognize you. You'll be able to unmute and talk. If you'd rather type something out, you can press the Q&A button that's right next to the raise hand button there. A chat box is going to pop up. You'll be able to type in the text box, press send to submit your message. Just know if you'd like to send your feedback anonymously, there's a box that you have to check. And I know we've still got some people calling in or joining in. Right now we're at five guests tonight. We might have more joining us on the way, but if you're calling in by phone, which I do see at least one, if you're calling in by phone, you can request to speak by dialing *9. You'll be recognized by the last 3 digits of your phone number, and we'll unmute you on our end so you can speak. You won't be able to use the Q&A function, but you will be able to virtually raise your hand through the phone. And then throughout the meeting, there are going to be multiple points where community feedback is requested through Zoom's polling feature. Again, if you're on a computer using the app, if a poll is launched, it'll just automatically pop up for you. You'll be able to answer, press submit, and then once the poll closes, the results will automatically pop up for you. And I'll close them out at some point. Otherwise, you can just press close on your own to stop viewing. Again, if you're dialing by phone, I'll read the question out loud and any available responses out loud. If you'd like to participate in polling, you'll have to press *9 to raise your hand and be unmuted to provide your answer to the poll. I'll place you back on mute afterwards. Just know that the polling is anonymous only if you're interacting on the computer or on your phone. If you're dialing by phone, it won't be completely anonymous in the way that you'll be identified by the last 3 digits of your phone number, but you'll have the option to participate in polling. And then as just a quick test, I'll launch a poll question. It should pop up for you, and the question reads, do you live in the project area? So our project area here is Bird Road between Newport Road and Huron Drive. I'll give a moment for everyone to answer. And I'm able to see how many people have participated out of how many are attending the meeting. So I'll be able to see if there's anyone who's not been able to answer yet and gauge how much time to provide. But I did get full participation. I'll close the poll and share the results. Those should also pop up for you to show that all the participants right now are all living in the project area. Also, one other quick thing, the summary of the polls, that'll be posted to the project website after our meeting. That way you'll be able to see, like, if you know, if you need to go back and take a look at something, it'll be there. So I'll close this. And one last thing before we get into the meeting content. During the presentation, and especially during any kind of feedback from your neighbors, your fellow community members, just please keep these Zoom norms in mind. We want to start on time so we can end on time, and just be respectful of everyone's Thursday night. Please raise your hand to be recognized to talk. There will only be one speaker at a time. If you are speaking, if you can, move to a quiet area, try to silence any background sounds when speaking, and just make sure that you're speaking loud and clear so everyone can hear you. I'm gonna make sure that everyone's provided a chance to speak before we have any repeat speakers. And, we want to be respectful of other ideas and perspectives. Just be kind to your neighbors, and try to differentiate between fact and opinion. And then lastly, any inappropriate written and or verbal comment or language, including personal attacks and accusations, there's zero tolerance for it. It'll just result in the attendee being removed from the meeting. So that was the last bit of housekeeping. If there's anything I've missed or anything anyone feels need to be added before we start the Bird Road specific kind of content, I'll pause here for a second. And I'm not seeing anything, so we'll just go right into it. This is the preliminary plan. This was what this is the plan that was marked in the street for your self-guided tour. You should have all received mailing packets that had information on each of these devices. Not much has changed. We did end up adding another speed hump at the bottom of the hill on the far end of Bird Road over by the nature area parking lot. And I'll go into more detail about how we got to that point. But right now we left the devices as is. This might not be as accurate as what's marked out right now in the road. There was some concern with device 4 being too close to the slope of the hill, but we had the construction engineer out there, or the construction inspector out there with us. They'll be the one, they're the ones who are going to actually be on site as these devices are installed. So they're very familiar with road grades and maintaining drainage, as well as maintaining those visibility and safety. And so, you know, the location, I believe it might have changed a little. It might change a little from what this rough sketch shows, but the location that they've marked out, they certified or they approved of. So this is high level, 5 devices. We've added one down on the right side of your screen or east of that hill towards the nature area. They're all speed humps. Um, and then as a quick refresher, this is a picture of a typical speed hump diagram on the left side on this slide, and then the example shown on the right is on Wells Street. As a reminder, just a quick overview, speed humps, they're typically 12 feet long. Maximum height is 3 inches. They have a parabolic shape, so they're tapered at the approach. As cars drive up it, there's a taper and maximum height of 3 inches. They usually extend the full width of the street, except any gutters, which we don't really have present on Bird Road, but studies have found benefits of speed hump treatments may include speed reduction, traffic volume reduction, crash reduction, and then some other things to note with speed humps. That height, that maximum height of 3 inches, that's designed for ease of bike usage, as well as bike safety. We've got a lot of people who use this area recreationally. Um, if previously permitted, vehicles can park on speed humps. Trash cans can be placed on speed humps. I did get another. I did get a comment that I'll point out. One came in saying there are a lot of bicyclists that use Bird Road. Can speed humps have a gap in the middle to make it easier for bikes? That is a design that I've seen in speed humps where instead of one hump that extends the full width of the road, there's like 2 with a gap in the middle. Unfortunately, you have to stick with this with the city standard, and their standard design right now for speed humps is one that extends the full width of the street. So it would be similar to what you see on the diagram here. But as I said, the maximum height there, that 3 inches, that is for bike safety and bike comfort in mind. Again, I'll pause here if there's any other questions just about speed humps in general. We can stop here for a moment. The next few slides will just be each device close up, and then we'll ask a poll question. But if there are any questions specific just about speed humps in general, feel free to use the Q&A or raise your hand. Doesn't look like there's anything. So as I said, the next few slides, I'll just show you each device on its own in its nearby location. If there's any questions about that specific device, we can go over them and answer or share feedback. And then before we move on to the next device, we'll do a poll on whether or not it's something that we support. So we'll start from the left. We'll go left to right or west to east. So device number 1, this one is near 1463 Bird. It's when it was marked out, the inspector wanted to make sure that we were clearing the gas line that was nearby, that we weren't too close. As engineers, we don't want it too close to the intersection. We don't want it in anyone's driveway, so this seemed to be the most appropriate location. This hasn't changed from the initial from the starter idea that we presented at the last meeting. So This one's still the same. If there's any question or comment now that you've maybe had a chance to look at it on the street marked out, uh, feel free to have the floor. And then if I don't see any questions or raised hands, I'll just go ahead and launch the poll. I don't see anything coming in. I know sometimes there's a delay. So if it seems like I'm going really slow or really silent in between, it's just I want to accommodate for any lag or pause. But I don't see anything coming in, so I'll launch a poll. This is just simply asking, do you support device one? That's, the speed hump here near 1463. If at any point um, if you're thinking, yes, I support this, but, or no, I don't support this, and you have something else that you want to add, you can use the Q&A, you can raise your hand, you can send it to me anonymously, and I'll read it out. But it looks like everyone in this room here is in support of this device. I'm going to assume you're in support of not only it being a speed hump, but being a speed hump in this location. And if you weren't at the first meeting, I did try to paint a larger picture going back to that overview of the street. Um, Speed humps on their own don't do very much, but speed humps in a series tend to work. That's why we have multiple. That's why we pay attention to spacing. Um, and we did get a comment that came in. Someone had said their neighbor at 2466 um, gave permission for you to be proxy to approve all the new traffic humps. So that's great. They can't be on the call. As a reminder, the call is recorded or the meeting's recorded, the presentation, all of that, that'll be posted to our project website sometime after the meeting. So if you know anyone that wasn't able to attend tonight, I know we're close to holidays and it end of the year just gets kind of busy for people. So I appreciate everyone who's able to join tonight. But if there's anyone who couldn't make it, they can always go back, and also they can reach out to me if they have any other questions. But so we're off to positive direction. Here's device two. Again, this location hasn't changed. The speed hump here, we needed to make sure that we had proper clearance from the fire hydrant that's there. This is near 1375 Bird Road. This is right across that mystery parcel of land that may be to the city or to the park. We're not quite sure yet, but um, this one's spaced out. They're at least, I think in general, they're all over 200 feet. And under 600 feet, just knowing that we don't want anyone to have to go under 25 miles an hour in order to travel the street, but at the same time, we don't want things spaced out so much that they've got time to pick up speed and maybe have to like slam on their brakes when they realize there's another one there. But this distancing is adequate for a 25-mile-per-hour zone. Oh, thank you. It was added that this is park access. Thank you. On the south part of the screen there. There any questions on this device or location or anything like that? Happy to, or any feedback that we want to share. And I'm just going to go ahead and launch the poll. If you have any questions, um, or even any questions from, device one or anything else we might have already, a slide we've already gone through. This is try to keep these pretty casual, even though we have an agenda. But if there's anything that you want to add, feel free. Use the Q&A freely. Raise your hand as much as you'd like and have some dialogue. I did get, I almost forgot. So I know I had at least one person reach out to me ahead of the meeting, um, who couldn't make it. They also wanted to share that they were in support of the devices. Um, why is number 2 not closer to 3? There's a question that just came in. Why is number 2 not closer to 3? So as I said, the spacing, we try to keep them as uniform as possible. We do have a range given what the speed limit is that we want in the area. So ideally we want everyone to be going 25 miles an hour here. Based on just engineering data and studies that have been done, the recommended range is, greater than 200 feet apart, but less than 600, less than, I don't know what the exact number is, but um, they're not going to be perfectly spaced. And that's a lot of times that's just purely, are there driveways? Are there other utilities? Things like that. That doesn't mean that like an extra 50 or 100 feet is going to be um, a make it or break it on whether or not the device is effective. But in this case, we did have the fire hydrant, and the city's fire marshal has veto power over our designs, and they also have standards that we meet need to meet. So proper clearance from their hydrants and maintaining, distances from intersections to maintain like turning radius and driveways too. That's always a big challenge just because a lot of times driveways are staggered. So we want to make sure that we have enough room that people can safely turn in and not damage their vehicles, but also not add too much wear and tear on the devices. So I still have the poll up. It doesn't look like I've gotten everyone's response yet. If there's anything else that you might have a question on, before answering, I'll keep it open. I know sometimes people are driving when they're when they're joining these meetings, so I understand if you're not able to answer, but I'll just keep the poll open for another moment. So hopefully that answered the question, why is device 2 not closer to number 3? The spacing it's purely just on paper. We could put things um, uniformly spaced, but once we go out, even sometimes we have this drawing and then we go out there with the inspector and they'll notice something else that says, oh, you got to move this device over a little more. This one, I believe, was simply because of the hydrant and the driveway locations nearby. I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll and move on. I didn't get everyone's answer. If later on you want to provide your answer, I'll make sure to document it. But we did get 80% participation that's in support of this device. And again, I'm going to assume this device and this location. I haven't gotten any feedback that indicates otherwise. And go ahead and stop sharing and then move on to device 3. So less than 500 feet away, we've got device 3. This one's near 1335 and 1336 Bird Road. There was a comment that came in saying the distance between device 2 and device 3 seems a little long. Same between device 4 and device 5. Should we have 6 devices? Again, the range that we're going off of for a 25-mile-per-hour zone, these devices are all spaced within that range. Between 4 and 5, we don't want to place anything because that's where that hill is. Ideally, we would have liked them to be closer, but because of that hill, we don't want to place a speed hump on that incline, especially knowing that there's concern with safety when it's snowing out or when it gets icy on the road. So we avoided putting anything on the hill between 4 and 5. And then again with 2 and 3, we don't want to place devices so close together that you have to go under 25 miles an hour. And like I said, the spacing is within an acceptable range for the speed limit that we're targeting. Oh, I apologize. The poll did not appear on your screen. You would have said, thank you. I'll make sure to note that in the when we do the summary. Were there any questions? Sorry, another comment came in. It is also a decline where people can accelerate down the hill, and number 4 will not be seen as people go down the hill eastward. So you're saying from 3 to 4 there's a decline, and you wouldn't be able to see the hump at number 4, the number 4 hump, I think is what you're saying. The part of this speed hump installation includes signing. So before you enter the zone with speed humps, there is signing. The speed humps are also marked with, they're not colored red like they are in this drawing, but they are marked with those arrow pavement markings on there. There's one came in saying I'm at 1335 Bird and completely in support of my speed hump. Yes, your speed hump. Um, well, that's always a thank you for adding that because that's I don't always know if the person who lives in front of these devices is present at meetings, and so it's good to get the feedback from people who it'll maybe affect a little more directly than some of the other neighbors. But thank you. So, like I was saying with the speed humps in general, there is signing that is included. So the part of the program is any kind of signing and pavement marking that's required with the device. So in this case of speed humps, there is signing that's required. There are special pavement markings that are added with that. Sorry, you stated not to put a hump on the hill after number 4. Okay, after number 4. The hill allows people to speed up before they hit number 5. Dangerous. Number 5 is visible from number 4 at the top of the hill. Also, I will say that we do, despite us putting the traffic calming devices in because there is the need for, because there is a need to calm traffic, we do also, it is also difficult to plan for like people who blatantly disregard the rules of the road. So I know we can imagine and maybe we've experienced seeing someone who flies up and down the hill. But to completely fill the roadway with as many devices as possible isn't always the best solution. We don't want to put anything, we don't want to put a device on the hill. And visibility was not an issue when we were out there with the inspector taking a look at everything. I will make it a point to go back and double check with them to make sure there wasn't any kind of possibility or big red flag on visibility. And I do have a hand raised. So Nina, you can go ahead and unmute if you'd like to say something.
I guess we're sort of talking about number 4 now, so I thought that I would just present my concern.
Okay.
The city owns the wall that is in front of our house at 1274. And when the wall needed repair, the city opted to put a new wall in front, above, and over the existing wall. As a result, the wall in front of our house is 5 inches from the street. And I'm not talking about from the curb, I'm talking about from the street. So when you pull out of my driveway, I cannot tell you how terrifying it is. We do have a mirror. It sometimes becomes fogged or there's leaves, and sometimes it's very hard to judge the distance. Concern is I cannot tell you the number of times I've pulled out of my driveway. God forbid you try to back out. But if you come out in the front, you've got to get your windshield out into the road before you can see if somebody's coming. And then if I turn left, I'm hitting that bump before I've even straightened my car out. And I'm like going, oh my gosh, this is going to be, because I'm sometimes if I've misjudged it, I'm gunning. I am like, boom, trying to get out before the car hits me. And if I hit that thing, I'm concerned about that.
Okay. No, thank you. I recall the feedback at the first. I recall I think I had gotten some feedback from you ahead of the meeting, either last meeting or this one, on the location of number 4. Actually, sorry, I apologize, Nina. Let me launch the poll for number 3 so we can. I'm gonna put a quick pin in that. If I'm gonna launch the poll for number 3. Again, this one is in front of 1335 and 1336. If there's anything that we want to add specifically about device 3, and we can address that, and then we'll go back to 4, and we'll just, because that is a good point, Nina. I was aware of the concern for how close it is to the driveway, but the context of the wall was not something that we
Yeah,
realized.
it is literally that wall is very high. It's like 8 feet high, and it comes out literally 5 inches from the street. So you really have to get your whole car out there. And then you if you've, God forbid, you've misjudged it, which I have done, you got to gun it because you're going to get hit. And then I'm just afraid of what that bump might do as I'm charging out of my driveway.
So it looks like we got the polling in for number 3. Everyone has answered the poll in support of it. Okay, so let me just scoot the slide over to next one. It's number 4. This is what we're referring to. So, and I believe we're speaking about the driveway at 1274. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank
Can
you.
can you move it down the hill a little bit?
So again, we don't want to put anything on the hill. I know there is concern, and just in general from other projects, there's always concern about putting devices on the hill, on a hill, because of of snow and ice and just difficulty, without any kind of device, difficulty getting up and down inclines. Um, so we wouldn't want to put anything on the hill. Um, there was another comment that came in, just stating nonetheless drivers speed up on their own from gravity, um, and suggesting to move speed hump number 5 more towards Huron River Drive. I will address that one once we get to device number 5's slide. But number 4, Nina, I'm gonna go back and see because
I would really like it when you go back. If you take your
mhm,
vehicle, go into my driveway and try to get out without looking at the mirror, because
mhm,
sometimes that mirror is fogged or covered with snow,
mhm,
and see what it's like getting out that driveway.
okay.
It's a frightening thing.
I will, if so, the city, you said the city put that wall up there,
They
or
sure
or
did.
did
And they
they
did a
put it
lovely job,
over?
but yeah, it used to be like if you look at the wall across the street where 1277 is,
Mhm,
even that driveway is difficult to get out of, but it's about a foot back from mine.
mhm,
And that 1277, it's not an easy exit from the driveway.
okay.
But what they did to 1274 made it, I can't even describe how dangerous it is. And I'm just afraid there's so many times
Mhm.
I've gunned out of there, like I'm afraid I'm gonna like, I don't know, it's gonna like jar me and I'm just have concerns. I'm
No,
wondering
I
if you could move
understand.
it down the street or up the street or something.
Mhm. I will, so I will look into where else we could place device number 4.
Okay.
But I will also check to see if there's any other outlet to improve like I will let them know what this concern is specifically with the work that they had done for um replacing the wall, because it did create a sight distance issue, for it sounds like for you and for your neighbor across the street when that one was installed. Um, it
Well,
wouldn't be
across the
anything.
street, it was about 60 years ago. So,
Oh, um,
yeah.
well, okay, so it wouldn't. I mean, but with the wall that you've got there, if the city put that there, if that is, I'm
I
going to
mean,
guess
we
it's
have a
maybe
mirror.
there.
We
Mm-hmm.
installed a very large mirror. And for the most part, if you're experienced with mirrors,
Mm-hmm.
it does okay. But I just don't, and so I mean, I'm not asking the city to remove the wall. They spent a lot of money on that.
Mm-hmm.
But to add a hump to my difficulty just seems a little excessive.
Okay. So yes, I will look at where else we could place device 4. If
Yeah.
there is any wiggle room for moving it farther east or west.
Yeah, I mean, if
We
it
have,
could, yeah,
yeah.
either way would be just get it away a little bit from the driveway so that I can straighten my car out.
Mhm. And we've got the hydrant there, which I thought I fixed that graphic. Um, the hydrant, I believe, is technically within 1274's property line. I might have updated this specific slide, but um, we do have to keep in mind our distance from the hydrant. So if we were to move it the to the west or closer towards 1288, then we may have to be concerned with how close we are to device number 3. Those are things that we can look at outside of this meeting, and also kind of reiterate that the concern is coming from this installation of the wall, and just in general there are visibility issues with your driveway. And it's just something that I like to pass along, because if there is something that the city can do about it, or is a way to help, address that specific concern of visibility, like, whether or not we place the hump, that's something that we have control of. But it sounds like on a day-to-day basis, you have an issue with getting in and out of your driveway. So I just like to voice it to them, to back to the city, just in case there is something that they can follow up with on. So we'll do that. There was a comment that came in. Maybe one on either side of the driveway would be good for Nina. Oh, I, are you, sorry, is that comment on, in reference to mirrors or to speed humps? Maybe one on either side of the driveway would be good. And I'm sorry, I do see that I have a hand raised. If Nikki, I saw that comment. If I don't know if it was in reference to mirrors or to the speed humps, about one on either side of the driveway. If there's anything else you wanted to add, but James, I see you have your hand raised. You can go ahead and unmute.
There we go. Now can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Hi.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm at 1288, right next to Nina.
Okay.
And I can appreciate Nina's concern. I think it's very legitimate. But if you move this speed hump to the west, our driveway is right there at 1288. I mean, right at the, on the edge of the property line there. So now you're gonna have to move it even farther west. And now you've got a huge gap between that and speed bump number 5, which in my mind, to me, the biggest problem we have on the road is the speed of cars going down that hill. And when they hit the dirt part of the hill, they're going way too fast. And so I would strongly say, don't move it to the west, move it to the east. And if it's on the hill, it's on the hill. Either that, or we need to put 2 speed bumps or speed humps at the bottom of the hill to force people to slow down even more than 25, because they race through that area there, that little valley down at the bottom of the hill up the dirt side. They're going way too fast through there, and there's all these walkers and people trying to get into the park or around the park there in the park entrance, and it's scary. It's very dangerous. And that's where we got to slow this down, and that's part of, the whole road we need to slow down. But in particular, I want to see us get cars to slow down more at the park. And if you move that speed bump to the west, cars are still going to be racing down that hill. If you
in my mind, I already, I mean, I will still look at it, but I would be, I would prefer moving it to the east. Like I said, I want to see how much room the inspectors see that we have to move it before we create any additional safety concerns by putting something on the hill. I will sorry, I didn't say this earlier, but I will remind everyone here that we are limited because of the programs requirements, sorry, fishing for words, because of the program's requirement, we cannot put any designs in place on parts of Bird Road that are not paved. So we had some room down at the bottom of the hill, but beyond that, where we're getting into dirt, we aren't able to put any, well, right now, we aren't able to put any traffic calming devices there. I recall from the last meeting, we had Cyrus with us. He's one of the traffic engineers at Ann Arbor, or with the city. And he's involved with other projects as well, and discussed that, there aren't right now any speed limit signs on the roadway, and there was concern. There was like an attached concern from some residents and from people who use the park area about the crossing on Huron River Drive. And so I know he's looking into that and to see what else could be done to upgrade signing or upgrade facilities down on that end. But within this project, we aren't able to, well, one, I don't want to put anything on here that puts us, that's designing for speed under 25 miles an hour. That's just not something that I'm able to do. But also knowing that we're limited to only the paved portion of Bird Road is kind of where we're at. But so device 4, I'm going to launch this poll. Please vote knowing that it's asking you if you support device 4 at this location. Because, after today, I want to be able to have record that we want to look at device 4, see if we can move it, knowing that there's a concern with this driveway, knowing that we don't want to push it any closer to device 3 to create an even larger gap with this hill area where there's a lot of concern, especially with people on foot. James, was there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I appreciate, I mean, I know you can't do anything on the dirt side, but again, I guess I don't understand why you have to say you got to keep it at 25. I mean, why can't we put at the bottom of the hill a couple speed humps or maybe even a speed bump to force people to slow down, so we don't have that problem of people speeding through that area? Because even with a speed hump, they're going to be coming down so fast. Right now, they come down and there's great big ruts in the dirt area half the time, and it doesn't slow people down. They just keep going. And I don't think speed hump's going to slow them down.
It's engineering guidelines. If the roadway is 25 miles an hour, we can't design it as if we want people to go 15 or 10. Let me keep getting ahead of myself. I will talk more about device number 5 and what went into putting that one there in just a second. Nikki, I saw your comment. You did refer to humps, but knowing that we don't, there's a distance we want to keep in mind, knowing that device number 3 is close by. There's a driveway right at 1288. There's a hydrant. We're going to look into moving device number 4 closer to the hill. As a reminder, speed limit signs, those are not part of traffic calming program, although that is something that at the last meeting, Cyrus said because it's an outside concern, he knows, he's aware of following up with that one. Could we add a street crossing at the bottom by the park entrance? Again, that is not part of this program. Traffic calming does not do new installations, new sidewalk installations, or new crossing installations. That's something that I can add to the list for Cyrus to look into. But within the perimeters of this project, it's not something that we can address. Margaret, I see that you have a hand raised if you want to go ahead and unmute. And Nina, I see your hand raised too. I'll get to you in just a second.
Hi, I live at 1180 at the bottom of the hill, but it's not quite the bottom. I think the speed bump should be closer here on River, that one, just a little. And the reason being, it is sort of by the dirt road, but not just as much as you could move it, maybe 3 feet, whatever we can get. Because that is a first indication for people that a speed bump series is going to happen, like right there. The second thing is, hey, did you say that your program might be able to provide signage? And did anyone think about putting a sign sort of by speed bump 5 or in the area that says something like, welcome to traffic calming area? I think I saw that somewhere else by Pioneer Trail.
So with the speed hump, There is standard signing that says, you know, you're in a speed bumps ahead, I think is what it says. So that is included with the installation that would be included with the installation of these speed humps. So there would be signing that's saying, like, you know, speed bumps ahead to alert people that they're entering
Okay,
this
so they're not
area.
on every bump, it's just in the beginning?
No,
Okay,
I believe
so,
so. Yes, yes.
yeah, so I thought the other sign was kind of, okay, here's the reason I like the sign about, you know, entering a certain neighborhood or entering, you know, I think a lot of people don't understand people live there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, somebody asked me where I lived and I told her and she said, oh, you mean the house with the wall? And I said, no, no, that's the neighbor's house. Oh, you mean this one? No. I said, I live closer to Huron River. She's like, what? There's a house there? I mean, you know, I know everybody's talked about the dangers of being in the road, but my mailbox is almost at the bottom of the hill.
Mhm.
So even when I go out there, the problem is the cars come way too close, way too fast. You know, on top of the speed, they are close. But I don't think they're looking for people.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not
The-
looking for Nina's car either. I get
Mhm.
that, right? Because, but maybe with the awareness of, I don't know. First I was against putting a sign, you know, to what I'm kind of talking about. But then I saw one and it was kind of nice. And then I thought, well, maybe nice people who don't want to barrel through somebody's neighborhood will read the sign and say, oh yeah, because that's what happened to me when I saw the traffic calming sign for the other
Mhm.
neighborhood, I said, oh yeah, that would make me pause and just say, you know, be respectful and, you know, try to go the speed limit or less.
That is so that signing like that, the neighborhood, I believe they call it a neighborhood gateway treatment. That is actually within that's included as an option in the traffic calming program. Um, and I'll have to go back because I remember the feedback that I got wasn't like a hard set rule, but I remember asking about, you know, what can we do about, you know, can we present a you know, gateway treatment, like, you know, to let, you know, it's an attractive landmark to let people know you're entering in a residential area.
Yeah.
And I will go back and ask because I remember there was another, not this one, but another project that I had asked about, you know, whether or not it could be an option on the table for that project, and they had said that they typically only use them when there's an island in the
Oh, that's right. That's what you said. I remember. Okay. But well, anyway, I thought that that was attractive. Maybe it's not the sign from your projects, but it said welcome to traffic calming area or something.
Mhm.
You know, over there by Breed and Barton.
The so signing like that, I know that in the guidebook, and okay, I'm all over the place tonight. So there is a
Sorry.
comment
Well, this
here.
has to
No,
do with
you're
five
okay.
too, because I'm
Um,
thinking, well, you know, it is true. The previous person, I'm sorry, I forgot I was talking. You know, he's mentioning, yeah, the real speed is down there, and that's what got me
mhm.
going. Because I
The
totally agree.
I still have the poll up for device number 4. Please answer no if you think that we should move this. In reference, James left a comment. If we support having a device 4, but you want it moved, please answer no on the poll. I know the feedback, but I just want to have the, you know, be able to add that in our summary that we don't support the device as it's shown here. So I'll keep that poll up for just a second if we can get some answers for that one. Um, and Nina, you're not getting the poll on your screen. I know this has happened. I guess I'm not familiar with the layout. If maybe it closed on, if there's anyone else who is familiar with the polling, or if they've had that happen before where the poll stops popping up on your screen. But I got your answer recorded, Nina. I'll make sure to include that. Oh gosh, couple not seeing the poll pop up. Let me Sorry, I apologize for this. I'm going to end the poll. And I'm going to relaunch it. And I hope that works. So please answer. I'm going to relaunch poll question number, the question asking about device 4. Please answer that one again. And I'm hoping that it pops up for anyone who might not have gotten it. And then there is another comment here. Once the hump, if we move the hump east, it'll end up being on the on the hill. I don't understand why a gradual hump is not appropriate on the hill. The hill and the entrance to the park, they need to be protected. That hill needs a hump. We need the street speed posted or the street made into a dead end that was once proposed by the city. Okay. You have to go to polls. Oh, so I think, is there? Okay, I did get everyone. Oh, good. That looks like that worked. So I did get everyone's answer. I'll show the results on there. Excuse me. Margaret, was there anything that you wanted to add about device 4? Because I do have another hand raised. I'll go back to you on the next slide. But was there anything else that you wanted to add that's specific to number 4?
No,
Margaret?
I just want to
Okay.
vote no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. I do
And I
see
can't
Nina.
change them, so thank you. Yeah, I was gonna tell you. Bye.
Oh, are you saying that you voted and it didn't record, or you voted the wrong one?
Yeah, I want to vote no.
Okay. Did you accidentally vote yes?
Yeah, that was, yeah, there's only,
Okay,
yeah, thanks,
gotcha.
thanks, sorry. Oops.
No, you're good. Nina, you've got your hand raised if you wanted to add anything before we move on to device 5.
I guess what I was thinking, and was that I know you say you prefer not to have a pump on a hill, and I get
Mhm.
that, but perhaps this is an instance where it would be preferable to have the hump on the hill because it gets it a little bit away from my driveway, so I'm not panicking. That's
Mhm.
good. And then it also gets it closer to the one down the hill near Margaret. So, we
Mhm.
need to keep saying, slow down, slow down. So maybe in this case, I guess I'm wondering, maybe this is an exception.
It's definitely something that, I'm going to double check with the city staff, with the city inspector, to make sure there's no hard stop in moving it farther east. I don't, I forget how many residents or how many addresses are within the project area. Not everyone is here tonight, but I mean,
Right.
of the people who are participating, it sounds like we're okay with putting it farther east, even if it does
Yep.
end up being a part of that slope.
And I guess, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
No, you're good.
but I guess if you do move it down, that then perhaps you should go back and look at the ones up the street and move them down if possible. I don't know.
Mm. Oh, you mean spacing them
Yeah,
out?
keeping the spacing a little better if you're
Okay.
moving that one down. I mean,
If
one
actually,
changing one sometimes affects the spacing of the others.
well, right now, the way they are, again, this, they're not, speed humps aren't more effective if they're exactly 300 feet apart versus, as long as
Okay.
they're within a
Okay.
range. So
Yep.
there's no concern about the overall effect between them.
Okay.
But this would actually, moving it east would actually help you make it more even between, because we had between 1 and 2, 2 and 3. Moving this one is shorten the distance between 4 and 5.
Okay. I mean, I think, you know, even though the wall is not ideal in terms of sight lines for the street, to say the least, that the city spent a huge amount of money on that, and we can deal with it with our mirror.
Mhm.
I'm just, as I said, I just don't know that throwing a hump in there would be the best thing. So,
No, I understand. No, I appreciate the feedback. Real quick, I see there's someone who has another meeting to go to. The recording is going to be posted probably sometime next week, just to get the link and everything available. It'll be posted to the project website. Before you, hopefully you can catch this before you have to leave, but it'll be in the recording. So Cyrus, the city engineer who's assigned to this project, he is looking into speed limit signs, as well as that crossing on Huron River Drive from the park area in onto Bird Road. So he is looking into those things. If there are if there's any follow-up, it'll be outside of traffic calming. So I don't want to make it sound, I don't want to make anyone feel like I'm dismissing the concern with um that the nature park, the nature area, or the unpaved area. It's just not something that I can focus on with the traffic calming discussion. So just know that he is following up on that one. And if there's any communication that I get that I can pass along, I will. So I wanted to answer that question that comment before you head out, before you go to your next meeting. And so just kind of wrapping it up with device 4 before we go on to the last one. So answered, looks like given the correction, we have everyone voting that they're not in favor of having this device in this location. So I'm going to go back to see how far east we can move it, knowing that at least among the people who attended the meeting, there's not a huge worry about whether or not it's part of the slope. I just want to make sure that from the constructor's point of perspective and from the city's perspective, with being more familiar with their standards, that there's no hard stop that they have to put in place with us moving device 4. So, this is device 5. So this is the one that we've added from our first meeting. And what we actually did is we took more, because we knew it was such a priority area for park users, for residents. We wanted to go back and just see what the speed data was specifically on the hill. So after meeting 1's discussion, we actually had them set up some data collection devices, those rubber tubes. They set those up and collected some speed data for a few days. And the 85th percentile speed was 31 miles an hour. So that is extremely high. So yeah, we added the speed hump here. And now, from the conversation that we've had so far tonight, I know that we want to move it as close as possible towards the unpaved section, as close as possible to that parking area. And I'm trying to recall if there were any major concerns with putting it closer to the dirt road. I mean, the inspector, I'm sure he gave a buffer when he marked it out. But I don't know if he's put it to the absolute limit. But in general, he didn't want to put something so close to the dirt that you have to worry about the stability of the device, because if they're putting it and there's not enough solid foundation underneath, then the speed hump is just going to get torn up. But we did add this device knowing that there's concern for the parking area here. We've got a lot of people who use the trail. We did get a comment saying it would be good to have it visible from the top of the hill so people can easily turn around in the parking area. visible from the top of the hill, so people can easily turn around in the parking area. It is visible from the top of the hill, when we marked it out. Easily turn around in the parking area. I don't know if it's gonna impact your ability to turn around in the parking area. If there's more that you wanted to add, Nikki, that I think that would be, if there's more that you wanted to add to that. Oh, so as close as possible to Huron River Drive. Okay, okay. Yeah, I'll go back and just double check that there wasn't anything else that was preventing the inspector from marking it out closer to Huron River Drive. Other than, I know he's got to keep in mind what the sub base on it underneath, like if he thinks that it's not gonna hold up by putting the speed hump there, you know, he can't move it any farther, but I'll make sure he knows that we want it as close as possible to Huron River Drive. So other than moving number 4, and knowing that we can't put 2 speed humps down here, was there any other feedback from this one, or from device number 5, or any other questions that we might have? Don't see anything. I'll just go ahead. I'll launch the poll then. If there's anything you want to add or clarify before you answer the question. Okay, so I support it, but I want it closer to Huron River Drive. Go ahead, and if I have that written down, that we want to move it as close to Huron River Drive as possible. I just want to check. So I have 3 out of, well, now we've got 4 people in the room right now. I don't have 100% participation. Go ahead and answer yes with this one, if even if knowing that we're going to try to move it. Oh, but now your poll is gone. How'd that happen? I did get I'll record your answer, Nina. It's okay. I'm just curious if anyone can add. Oh, Margaret, sorry, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Hi, it's me again. I voted no because I was going on the Nina path when I voted
Yes.
yeah. Oops.
Oh, okay.
But now,
No, you're
like,
okay.
I'd like to move it as close as possible for it's more flat there, as long as it's not by the sewer or near the dirt part. It will really help people to understand that people might live there, or there's a reason to go slow. Actually, a lot of the people that go to the park are super nice and they go really slow. Now, maybe they have bad experiences. Yeah, it's the through traffic, and most of that does start, you know, from Newport. But yeah, sorry, I was going, you know, I did the Nina one backwards than this one.
Oh, no, don't worry. Don't worry.
So yeah, I like it. If you could move it just a little bit would be terrific.
Yes, I will. Again, I'll double check with the inspector to see if it can be, and so some of these things I'll be able to include in our summary, in the discussion summary that we post after the meeting.
So can you just change my vote to whichever way makes sense for?
Yeah,
but
don't worry.
Thanks.
Don't worry. Yeah. And then I wanted to add that the signing that is part of a device, like the speed hump signing, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it's usually ahead of the device itself. It's not like at the speed hump. It's usually an advanced warning sign. Um, so even if we can't, so if I'll go back and I'll check with the inspector. If we cannot move it any closer to Huron River Drive, just know that the signing that's part of the speed hump, that would be part of these speed humps, would be in advance of the speed hump. So if that's helpful information, but so I'm gonna try to get these in because I don't want to make everyone wait forever for the discussion summary. So if I can get these notes in there, I'll add them. Whether or not we can move, or at least confirm that the inspector is aware that we want to move device number 5 as close to Huron River Drive as possible, while preserving, ground stability and longevity of the device. And in addition, whether or not we're going to be able to move device number 4 closer to the hill, even if that means it's on the hill a little bit. That one you might be easier to see on a map or on a drawing like this, but like device 5 might not be as easy to tell. So I'll try to make sure that those are in the discussion summary notes. Attractive signs rather than neon yellow are appreciated. Unfortunately, I cannot do anything about that because they are warning signs. There is a standard that the city has to follow, so they will likely be those yellow ones. But I can let the city know that there's a preference for more attractive ones. We want to make sure that the message is out there. We don't want it to, we want to make sure that the sign is recognizable and serves as a warning to drivers. So likely it would be those not aesthetic yellow ones, unfortunately. Are there any questions about the devices, about the placement, knowing that 4 and 5 is where we're going to work things out a little bit, and if those get to be moved around, do kind of like a once over to see if the rest of the devices need moving. Were there any other questions or any other kind of feedback that we want to add so we can make sure it's documented? Because if not, I'll just go through this summary of what's going to happen next. So as I said, I was talking about a discussion summary. After today's meeting, we'll post the presentation, we'll post the recording. It'll be on the project website. Next week, I'm hoping to get it up there next week. Sometimes the discussion summary takes me like a couple weeks, just because, especially with this one, because I have a couple questions that I want to make sure that I go back to the city with and get some answers for, so I can have it in writing for everyone. But all the materials from tonight, it'll be posted on the project website. We're going to use the feedback. We're going to try to fine tune this plan. And then, we're going to finalize the plan and post that to the project website, as well as mail it out to everyone in the project area. So that final mailing package will have the drawing of the final plan, the sketch, and it'll also have a questionnaire. It'll be the final poll. That I'm going to get mailed out early December because we're running into more holidays. I'm going to try to get it out earlier so you just have more time. But right now, like, we're scheduling to have it out by December 12th. You'll have the option, just like we did with the initial questionnaire, you'll have the option to complete the poll either by mail or to do it online. The deadline is going to be December 29th. So if I can, I'm going to get these out to you earlier just so you have that extra time. But still the deadline will be December 29th. The requirement for us to move forward is going to be that of the people who participate in polling, there has to be more than 50% approval of the final plan. Approval of the final plan means you're going to get a drawing like this. Oh, shoot. You're going to get a drawing like this, except it'll say final plan. It'll have all those final, like those revisions to it. You're going to get this along with a poll, and it's just going to be like one question. It's going to ask you, do you support the final plan as is? So it's asked, like I know tonight and at the last meeting, we kind of went device by device to ask you how you feel about each device individually. But this final poll, this is a program requirement. It is asking you, do you support the plan as is? So that includes the number of devices, where the devices are located, what kind of device it is. So it'll just simply be like a yes or no question. The requirement for us to take this to city council, for us to take it to the Transportation Commission, it has to be more than 50% approval. So, if there are a lot of you have other neighbors who couldn't join tonight, if they participate in polling, they also, they have to support this plan as is. And then there has to be more than 50%. That means, right now we've got a room of 6. If it ends up being like a 50-50 yes, no, the plan can't move forward. It has to be more than 50%. So our target after getting these polling results back in, we'll get all the paperwork and stuff together. If there's enough support, we take it to Transportation Commission just to let them know that this traffic calming project, it just wrapped up its public engagement. We have, X% of people who are in support of it. We'll ask for their support, and then we'll take it to City Council for final approval. I don't have exact dates on here. In general, I'm hoping to get it in there by February. I don't know if the city has their 2024 calendar yet, so I don't have an exact date for you. And additionally, the agenda can change and stuff. And so just know that that's like a ballpark February. After that, if City Council approves it, they will. Oops. Oh, I'm so sorry for that. Let me start that up again. If City Council approves it, they'll set a construction date. And then, you'll get further communications. It'll, the project website will be updated and you'll get further mailings once the construction date is set. And we are back at slide 1. I apologize. So that wraps up the schedule. Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome, Nikki. I'm going to launch at the beginning of the meeting. There was an anonymous poll. This is optional. I'm just going to relaunch it again if you didn't get a chance to complete it. This is not anything to do with traffic calming. This is just something that the city uses. If you can participate in that poll before you leave. This is my contact information. This is their project website on the screen. Please reach out if you have any other feedback, any more feedback or any questions that pop up after today, or even after we publish that final plan and you get that in your mailbox. And if you have any questions, just reach out to me. We're at 7:20 right now. I've scheduled the meeting up until 7:30. If there's any other questions or comments, I'll hang around for a moment. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for participating, for your time, for joining. I know we're getting up to the end of the year already. and it gets kind of crazy for a lot of people. So I appreciate you taking time to participate in this program, and also, with the requirements that we have to do with the polling. I'll just thank you in advance for working it into your schedule, especially at the end of the year. Nina, you've got your hand raised. You can go ahead and unmute if you'd like. Oh. Um,
Can you hear me?
yes,
Can
yes,
you?
sorry.
Okay, great. I mean, in general, I support this project.
Mhm.
So if you don't move the bump outside my driveway, then I have to wonder, well, I don't know. So will we have time to like talk about why you can't move it outside my driveway? Blah, I mean, I guess what I'm kind of thinking is you're just going to send us this plan and we won't have any idea why you decided what you decided.
So I'm gonna try and get those questions answered about the number 4 and 5 speed humps. I want to
Uh-huh.
get those questions answered and put in the summary from today's meeting. So after today, I'm gonna, just do my check-in with the city inspector and Cyrus, who's the city engineer for this one. Um, I'll make sure we have that discussion, and then, like I said, the meeting materials, like the presentation and the recording, that I'll be able to put up to the project website like probably next week. But I want to make sure that I have those questions answered in our summary, and post that to the project website as well before the final plan goes out.
Okay.
Just so you see that there's, what the response was. Um,
Okay.
Also, because this is our last opportunity to have like the public forum for our,
Yeah.
um, I don't want to make any major changes to to the final plan without being able to have, this open discussion like this. So
Mhm.
knowing that we want to adjust 4 and 5, if for some reason I can't get an answer on moving them before before that the plan has to be finalized. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm likely going to get that answer in the discussion summary for you before the plan is finalized. But I'm just saying, if that were the case, um, and you get something in the mail and it's like, hey, this isn't at all what we discussed, um, I try to include, the reasoning behind it in the letter that's attached to
Okay.
the final poll.
So,
Um,
Christy, have you ever seen them put a hump on a hill?
no,
Ah,
no, and
so
but I mean,
the plot thickens.
largely it's largely because, like, I think one of the other projects um that I've worked with, one of our starter ideas had a speed hump that was kind of on an incline. It definitely wasn't as steep as this, but it was on an incline. And there was really, really harsh pushback from the residents on that street because they had concerns with that hill, even with nothing there. Their main concern was safety getting up and down during the winter. Um, so
But it
that's
sort of sounds like our neighborhood kind of supports it on the hill.
yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, like I said, I don't have everyone here who
Yeah,
lives on the
yeah,
street, and I don't think I
right.
have everyone here who was at the first meeting. So I don't want to,
Gotcha.
you know, I want to make sure that we're keeping these considerations in mind. But that's why I want to go back and discuss with the city, to see from their perspective if they what kind of um impacts to safety there might be if we move it, just at the top of the hill, or like, just slightly at the top of the hill. Um, and just get their feedback. Because again, when the final poll is set out, it's just simply like, do you support this as is or no? And if there's other people who, you know, have that concern about what happens when there's snow on the ground, or when, like, you know, you know, freezes and we've got ice, and they, you know, and they participate and they don't want to see anything there, then you know, I trying to do our best between these two meetings. I know it's not a whole lot of um it's not a lot of you know, it's only two meetings, but try to come up with something that you know, we might have people who don't want anything at all. I try to make sure there's something that respects that, as well as, you know, addresses the concerns that are out there.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, there'll be project materials will go out on the meeting materials will go out on the project website. The discussion summary, when that comes out, that'll address moving you know, that'll address our question of whether or not we can move device 4 or 5, or whether we're going to move device 4 and 5. But I guess keep an eye on your mailboxes. Mid-December, I'll try to get them out earlier, like I said, but you'll have until the end of December to complete that final poll. So we're almost out of time. I just want to say thank you again. I really appreciate the participation in this project. And then hope you have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.